Good afternoon and welcome back to the Urban Preparedness Channel. I am your host, the Urban Cockroach, and today it's about prepping if you've never prepped before in your life. Now, I've noticed that with the current state of affairs, we've got this coronavirus floating around, and there are a ton of new preppers. Everywhere you look on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, there are a million prepper groups flooded with brand new members, and they're all asking the same question, and that is, I'm new to prepping, I've never done it before, what should I do to get started? And so I want to talk about some of the mistakes I made. I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. For those of you that know, I'm a Marine, so eating crayons, licking windows, pulling triggers. Okay, that's about the gist of it. Here's some common made mistakes when you go and try to start prepping. Okay, you don't have a plan. You go out and you get real excited and you start buying things as fast as you can. This is not a good prep. Okay. Macaroni and cheese from the powder. There's a reason it's not a good prep. It takes milk and butter. You have to have power and refrigeration to store those two things. Which means this is absolutely disgusting, if not worthless, after shit hits the fan, if you only prep this. Now you can solve that issue for about 20 cents more by buying this. And this comes with a squeeze pouch in there. All you have to do is boil the noodles, mix it all around, wait for them to get soft, and then squeeze the cheese packet in there. You don't need butter, you don't need milk. This is about 20 cents more a box than this is. If you're using this, great value, I think it comes from Walmart, it's like $1.17 a box. All you need is water. If you don't have water, there's a whole bigger issue you got to deal with other than food, okay? Water's a pretty important one. You need that first, all right? Hydrate or die is what they used to say in the Marine Corps, but let's be honest, we can all survive off of caffeine, hate, discontent, and a few cigarettes here and there, okay? If you don't plan when you go shopping for your preps, you buy things like 30 cases of this. Okay, don't get me wrong, this emergency food ration bar has got 2,400 calories in it. I've been able to stretch one of these out on a camping trip for about 5 days. I mean, I was still malnourished in that time frame, but my stomach didn't feel empty because this stuff is really solid. It takes a while to digest it, but it does not taste great. Okay, this one's apple cinnamon, so if anybody's had like a First Strike bar, it tastes a bit like that. But you have to chew the crap out of it, sit it in your mouth for a minute, and wait for it to kind of get enough that you can chew it a little bit. And the big issue there is this entire block tastes exactly the same. It'll take you about a week to chew through this giant block, and the only flavor you're going to get is apple cinnamon. So unless you're one of those people that only likes apple cinnamon, and I've never met you before, because as far as I knew you don't exist, this gets real tiresome real quick. So if you're like me and you got a whole case of this because you bought it when you first started prepping, hopefully my viewers can learn from my mistakes. Because as you can tell, I still have a ton of them laying around the house, and I'll probably never eat them again unless an absolute emergency comes in. But this is great. It's not just great because it's easy to make, but it's great because it's a comfort food that your kids will also enjoy because it's probably a staple in your children's diet too. So they don't have to worry about fluctuations because there's already a lot of changes going on in the environment that are going to stress them out. So if you have something simple like mac and cheese that they can eat, it's not going to change their outlook on life. Another thing. Progresso soup. Okay, don't get like the Campbell's chicken noodle because it's essentially just really salty water with a single chunk of chicken floating around in there somewhere. But the Progresso, I like the brand. Okay, you don't actually have to get Progresso, but there's a million different kinds of companies. You can get it really cheap. It's got a ton of greatness in there. There's like lentils, you got corn, you got big chunks of meat. The noodles are actually pretty good, and it's not condensed, so you don't have to worry about getting the water ratio good. Just heat it up in a friggin' pan and eat it. Alright, so when it comes to food, that's how I start prepping, or how I recommend people start prepping, is things like that. Really simple things that are pretty cheap, and it's a ready meal. All you have to do is pop the tab and eat it. Don't go out and spend an absolute fortune buying these high-calorie survival food bars at $15 a piece when you can get a box of macaroni and all you need is a pot, a little bit of water, and you're eating real food. That's all you need. All right, now the next important thing that I tell people is basic medical supplies. Okay, basic medical supplies. That's antiseptics. Okay, for 88 cents, you can go to Walmart and get a big old jug, and you just pour it all over everything. You can get rubbing alcohol for 88 cents. Comes in a big friggin' jug. You can get it at Walmart. Sam's Club's got an even bigger jug. I think it's like $1.20, but it's almost a gallon. And it's like rubbing alcohol or peroxide. Both of those are pretty amazing things to have just stocked around the house. I have a whole box of medical supplies. I could probably bandage up a bloodied battalion for a couple of months before I'm going to have a problem. Not to mention, every time I see these on sale, I go ahead and get them. These are just basic first aid kits. Okay, this one's for your boat or office. It's got like 40 band-aids in it, a couple of gauze pads, some rubber gloves, a set of shears, some tweezers. Okay, this has any basic injury problem solved right there. Okay, because 90% of the issues are going to be scratches, nicks, you cut yourself, something small. But if you don't have proper antiseptics and proper bandaging, those things turn into infections, and a shit hits the fan type of scenario. So make sure you're kind of keeping that in mind when you're a beginning prepper. You do not have to go out and buy a $1,200 field surgical kit that's got sutures and scalpels and hemostats and every other fancy thing in there, because one, you probably don't know how to use it because you've never taken a course. If you have taken a course, you probably already have it laying around. You don't need a blood pressure cuff and a fancy stethoscope because you probably don't know how to use it. It's just going to sit in a box and take up space. Now, if you're like me and a number of other people that are watching my channel and you have that kind of training because you have a bunch of friends who are, corpsmen or, Army medics or, SF medics, or a good buddy of mine, he's a nurse actually at the hospital down the road, and I pick their brains as much as I can. And as your ability to do things expands, then the amount of stuff that you prep really expands. The next thing, okay, we've covered food. You should already know that you need water. Okay, the average human being needs a gallon of water a day if he is exerting himself or herself. A gallon of water per person per day. If you don't already know that, chances are you're probably not watching my channel. So, gallon of water per person per day. If you're exercising. Okay, if you're not exercising, you can probably get away with a little bit less water, but you got to take into consideration, if the faucet turns off, you got to use that water to wash yourself, clean out your pots and pans when you're done using it, so make sure you have that extra water. So we're not going to talk about how much water you should have stacked up in your house. I have an entire wall of water in my house. Okay, but we've covered food. You should already know about water. We talked about basic medical supplies. The next thing I'm going to talk about, the top shelf here in my war room. Books. Books on local vegetation. Okay? Books on what types of plants you can use to make natural analgesics. For those of you that don't know, there's like moss that grows in everybody's backyard. It naturally creates iodine. You can use it to filter water. You can use it to pack wounds. You can use it for all kinds of crazy things. Believe it or not, it actually helps brighten up your skin too, and cleans out all the nasty stuff in your pores. So if those are your Metro or whatever, and you just want to clean your skin up a little bit, you can slap peat moss on there. Works fantastic. But that's about it for basic entry-level prepping. we can go into detail about how you should have a self-defense plan, an evacuation plan, you should have which types of weapons, how much ammo, who in your neighborhood is good at what, so that you can formulate a plan in the event that something occurs. That's not what we need to deal with right now. Every entry-level prepper that is just coming into the community, food, water, basic medical supplies. That's it. If you try to bite off everything at once, you're going to choke on it. Don't try to put the whole thing in your mouth. Let's just start with the tip for now, okay? And you're going to enjoy the entire adventure. That being said, sooner or later, you keep prepping, you keep doing it, you're going to fit the whole shaft down there and everything's going to work out great. But for now, let's start with the basics. And that's about all. I've got stuff to do today, so the cockroach is going to scurry out of here, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and share my videos with all your friends if you like what I have to say. Hopefully they do too. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you all survived the holiday.